I wonder if people realize it's the third video I'm filming today. I don't know which one to buy. What is good, YouTube? It's that one camera guy back at again with another video. In this episode, we are going to answer a really tough question. Should you get the a6300 or the a6500? Let's jump into it. In order to come to a conclusion between these two cameras, we need to look at one important factor. You. Yes, you. We need to know what your needs are and whether or not that camera will meet those needs. Right now, it's really hard to decide. And that's the reason why you're watching this video. I'm not gonna run through the specs in this video because you probably have already researched that yourself. But here's the thing, in the US, there is a $400 price difference. And that is enough to buy another lens. Maybe you have a budget for an a6500, but if you get the 6300, you could get like a Sony 35 f1.8, which is a really nice APS-C lens. So what I'm gonna do is break this down into scenarios for you and determine whether or not a 6500 works for you or a 6300 works for those circumstances. I have some ground rules though before we jump into this. The scenarios I'm giving you mean that the person has already made up their mind. They're either gonna buy an a6300 or a 6500. They are not gonna buy a different camera. If you start opening Pandora's box and opening up the scenarios, this isn't really helpful. This is only for someone that's already said, I am only gonna get this or that. That's it, period. Yeah, of course it's not black or white, but that's the situation to make this simpler for everybody. That's the situation that we're in to make this a lot simpler to understand. All right, when would you get an a6500? One, if you're balling and you've got money. Money's not an issue. And really, why would you be getting this? Two, if this is a potential write-off for your business. Three, if you have the money, sort of, and you can consider skipping something that you buy on a daily basis like Starbucks. Four, I'm a cinematographer. Easy. Five, I shoot event videos and weddings. Six, I shoot concerts, plays, nightclubs, bands, etc. Seven, I shoot more 4K video than I do photos. 8. I do sports photography and the raw buffer is really important to me. 9. I do a lot of handheld video work. 10. I plan to adapt a lot of older lenses but need stabilization. 11. I live in warm tropical areas or very hot, dry areas. 12. I want to be a vlogger and 4K is a must. 13. I'm a content creator on YouTube. Now, those are some of the reasons. Let's jump to the a6300. 1, if you're struggling to put money together and you've got to save for a long time, get the 6300. 2, I'm a student learning photography. 3, I'm a casual shooter. 4, I just shoot photos. I burp a lot filming, but they'll never see this. 5, I shoot a variety of styles of portraits. Number 6, I'm a parent that just wants to shoot photos of my kids. Number 7, I don't need 4K. Number 8, I just shoot some 1080p video. Number 9, I'm a vlogger, but I only need 1080p. Number 10, I live in an area that's typically cool throughout the entire year. Number 11, I do street photography. And number 12, I'm a content creator on YouTube and 1080p is just fine. The main driving factor for all of these scenarios has to do with video and temperature. If you do a lot of video, you really want to consider the a6500. If you do more photos, you can consider the a6300. Use the money you saved on the a6300 to get some better glass or a lens that you need for your system. Those of you who are going to shoot video primarily, I'm going to make a guess and I could be wrong, but I think some of you already have lenses that you can adapt to the system. So maybe you have some Canon and Nikon glass already. So you're gonna be okay, sort of. But my recommendation is if you can spot the money for the a6500, do it because you don't wanna find yourself in a scenario where your camera's gonna overheat like the a6300. So like I was saying, don't compromise. And adding on to the whole overheating thing, imagine you're shooting in a professional environment and it's really important to see maybe the wedding and you're shooting in 4K and the camera decides to just shut down on you. You don't want that happening, so make sure not to compromise on that. Where you live. Where you live is actually playing a really big role with these cameras. If you live in an area that's hot or dry or tropical and warm, the a6300 is definitely going to overheat. I can see it happening. So in those cases, you are going to want to get a 6500 if you do want to stay between these two cameras. Vlogging. Vlogging is gaining a lot more attention, and honestly, I think the a6300 is a good camera choice for this. If you shoot in short bursts and maybe some time lapses, you don't need to spend the extra money getting the a6500 in that case. And plus, with the money you save, you can probably scrunch up an extra few dollars and get the Sony 10-18, which is going to be really handy for vloggers. And plus, it already has optical stabilization, so you don't need the 6500 for that, which already has stabilization. Content creator for YouTube. This depends on a lot of factors, especially the style of video and content that you do. If you do a lot of your videos as you're talking to the camera like I'm doing right now, then the a6300 will work just fine. If you work in a controlled environment or studio setup, then it's perfect. You aren't gonna have to worry too much about overheating. Now, it doesn't mean it won't ever happen. There was a video I filmed yesterday that the camera actually overheated. I was doing an overhead shot and the a6300 overheated after about 20 minutes shooting in 4K. And it actually wasn't recording the entire time. I'd actually stopped it. It was kind of stop and go. Photographers. If you primarily do stills, the Sony a6300 is a good choice between the two, as you won't be pushing the camera too much. It could still overheat if you live in a very warm environment and you're really pushing the camera, but for the most part, it should be fine. Final note, remember the Sony a6500 is better for longer recordings, but if you plan to shoot in direct sunlight, let's say the wedding ceremony is happening in direct sunlight, it could overheat. So don't assume that all overheating issues have been solved with the a6500 until further tests can be done. Now before I go, down below, what scenario do you fall into? Maybe you fall into a scenario I didn't mention. I'd love to hear what you have to say and continue the conversation with you down below in the comments. Hey, did you know I put together a guide for the a6500? It'll help you get set up if you just recently picked it up. I've also got a number of videos on the 6500 and the 6300 that you can check out on my playlist. Well folks, that's all I got for you in this video. You know what to do. If you found the content helpful, consider giving it a like. And if you do want to keep following up on the videos I'm producing, consider subscribing. And with that said, I'm your host, Camera Guy, and I'm really tired. Bye.